Dan, thank you very much for sitting down and talking with me. You're running for village trustee this election, so we wanted to get to know you and give you an opportunity to have people get to know you a little better. So you want to just start by telling us about yourself and your family. Where'd you grow up?
Well, first I want to say thank you. This is an amazing thing that you're doing, and I think it's really needed. So thank you for doing such an amazing thing for this town and this community. I have been a Mokena resident pretty much my whole life. I grew up in Arbery Hills across the street, over there by Fleckenstein's, or by Hecht Park. My mom is actually still friends with Barb Hecht.
Wow, really?
I remember going when Darwin wasn't there. There was that farmhouse. We would play at that farmhouse, and Barb owned that house and that property, and the whole family owned that. So.
Do you know anything about, is that directly who it's named after? Is
Hecht?
that her family?
Yes.
Or like parents? Or
No,
do you know the story?
her family. I think it's named after her.
Their farm was there?
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I think they had a house where that, I forget the name of the car dealership is, but there's a car dealership on 191st.
On the north side, or this?
Yeah,
there's
north side.
two now. Yeah. I don't remember either offhand.
But I think their house was there, so it was just kind of, it's funny seeing all the changes or seeing the growth in the community. But yes, getting back to the point, I've been a lifelong resident of Mokena and couldn't see myself living anywhere else.
What are any memories of growing up? Like, what do you think of Mokena as your childhood years?
Well, honestly, so the whole, what is it now, Terra Hills in Arbery, that was nothing. That's where I learned how to drive when there was nothing there. I think I was like 12 years old. My dad and my grandma would take me back there in like a 1991 Ford F-150, and there was
Just
nothing.
fields?
Just
It was all
fields.
fields
It
there?
was just fields. So seeing that get built up was sad, but also it was fun to watch. It was fun to see they're building another block. They're building another block. Also, riding my bike up to Bozo's Hot Dogs. I don't know if you remember when that was on Route 30. Like going through the forest preserve, getting a hot dog, and riding back home was like you were something special because you had the freedom to ride your bike.
So you always hear people, well, maybe not always, but there's kind of the idea of the Arbery Hills, and it's a different school district.
Yes.
You're on the other side of LaGrange. How was it then? Like, did you feel connected to the community, or
I
did
did.
it feel different? What?
I've been fascinated with the downtown area. I thought it was, again, like riding my bike over that way, and just thinking that the downtown area was so cool, and like old timey. So yeah, there were a lot of times we just kind of like hung around by the train tracks or hung around in the downtown area. But yes, there was a lot of like crossing LaGrange wasn't always something that my mom was pleased with. So a lot of the adventures and whatnot did happen in Arbery.
What school did you go to over there, and then high school?
I went to Arbery Hills for grade school, then Hilda Walker and Summit Hill, and then Lincoln Way East.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. And tell us about your family.
Oh yes, of course. I've got a beautiful wife, Sherry. We've been married for, this year will be 14 years. We were just having this conversation the other day. Next year we will be together 20 years. Like dating and all that. So 20 years, and then we have 2 children, Grayson and Braden, 12 and 10. Basically, they're what keeps us pretty busy in the baseball world, but also they're kind of branching out into other sports as well. So you see us at a lot of baseball fields, but I think you might see us on volleyball courts and basketball games and things like that. It's fun to have our kids involved in sports.
Yeah, what does that change? Even just becoming a parent, in town, and how does that change maybe who your circles are, or who you meet, or
Your circles change. I feel like we're always having, like you have like this season we're really close with this family, and the next season you're close with another family, and I remember, and then you kind of all circle back and become friends all again. Like, oh yeah, remember when our kids were 4 and they played soccer together and things like that. The sports help with getting that community feel and having common ground, because I'm not going to be out there running around on the soccer field anytime soon, but it's nice to be able to watch the kids grow up and do it.
Yeah. What do you do for fun?
I feel like there's a lot of, I read a lot just to kind of ease, take the stress of the day off. I like reading.
What do you read?
Everything. What's his name? Ryan Holiday. He's a Stoic. I try to read everything on Stoicism and things of that. I was one of the, I forget how many million people bought that Inner Excellence because of what was it? It's not Saquon Barkley, was it? It was the other guy. Who was the guy?
I don't know it. No.
The Eagles guy. I forget what his name was. It wasn't Saquon Barkley. It was one of the other guys. But they had this book. And he was on the
this
sideline.
season. Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm going to get that. So I got that. That thing was a quick read. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But when the weather's nice, I enjoy fishing. I am at Lake Tampier just off of Wolf Road.
Yeah.
That's where I like to spend my summers.
It's a great place to kayak.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it out there.
Great, yeah. So you're on the Park District.
Yes.
So I want to talk a little bit about that. Tell me about what do you like about it, and what have you learned, and how you've made a difference there.
I love it. I love. It is not what I thought it was going to be. I thought, when it was first pitched to me, I thought we were going to be just building parks everywhere, and that is not what it is. There's so much more to it, and there's like intricate little details, like helping the staff pick an insurance plan that's going to benefit everyone, and kind of taking into account who has families, who's single, who's married but doesn't have kids, and what's like the best insurance plan to offer the staff members. Updating payment plans, like we were and phone systems. Like there's things that I never thought that this is going to be part of the job title, but it's beneficial and it's part of the plan. But then there's fun things like helping decide what goes on at Halloween Hollow, or helping decide which bands are going to be at the band shell, and the redesign of the barn, or the inside of the barn. And I don't know if you've been seeing the updates with that, but the barn is going to look really nice when it's finally completed. Learning so much and making connections with very resourceful people. There's so many great people that work there that you can just kind of sit down like this, ask, and have a conversation, and say, how does this work, or how does that work, how has that worked in the past, and just really build those relationships with the people.
Mm-hmm. Have you had to have any interaction intergovernmentally with maybe the village or other taxing bodies that you've worked with or cooperated with?
So not me personally. Our board, so the director, Greg, and usually the president have more direct relationship with the village, and then that information is kind of brought back to us as a board. So I have never been the president of the park board. If I ever were to become, then I would have more interminglings between the village and the direct relationships with the village. But currently, as it sits, I'm receiving the information secondhand, and then we mull over what information we're given, and then kind of make decisions as a board.
So talk about that process. What happens when something's presented to you, or an idea or the agenda? How do you, if you have questions or you're unsure, what are you doing to go about and get those questions answered?
Yeah, we have a very understanding board right now. We've all become very comfortable and close in terms of working together and friendships. So simply asking and saying, whether it's in the meeting itself, or there's a couple guys on there. Well, Jeff Apel lives, a block away from me. I can, mosey over and talk to him. Or Mike Gandy on there is one of the greatest guys, and I can, ask him anything. And we can call each other and say, we talked about this, and I still don't understand that. So, or there's more I want to talk about that. So, being in conversation in the meeting itself is very comfortable, but then also having the ability to call somebody up and say, hey, let's talk more about, XYZ.
Mm-hmm. So maybe talk about how you've been able to individually make a difference, whether it be with an individual issue or maybe something you brought or anything like that, where you maybe taken a leadership position.
Yeah. So individually, I have, we're never a split vote. We always seem to agree on things, but I have ties to MBSA as well, the Mokena Baseball Softball Association, and I'm kind of the liaison there between the two boards. And there's things that anytime you have two entities discussing and there's financials between the two, someone's always feeling like they want to understand where and why their money is being spent the way that it is, and being that liaison between those two boards has given me an opportunity to kind of explain where money is being spent to MBSA, and explain things to the park district and say, hey, we're collecting payment, we need to do XYZ, or we need to make sure that we're doing XYZ for this entity that is essentially a client.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of like directly on the park board, I feel like with this barn, the barn renovation has been like the focus or the focal point. So not necessarily like having it my way or saying like, oh, we need to do this, but presenting an idea and saying like, well, what if we did it this way, or what if there was this instead of that, and bring that up to the board and then have it be discussed. And I don't necessarily feel like I was responsible for that, but also that we brought it to the table and we talked about it and it got discussed, and now we're moving forward in that direction.
Yeah. So how about, one of the things that has kind of grown and changes as technology becomes easier is, the idea of making meetings more accessible. Mm-hmm. And the school district went through this kind of during COVID by force, if nothing else, but
Yeah.
And found a way. How do you feel about it? Do you think those meetings should be more public? Do you think there's a way the park district could draw more community involvement, or anything? Any suggestions or thoughts you might have?
So one that I haven't presented to the board, but have had thoughts about is I really like what Dr. Rolanitis does every Friday. Mm-hmm. He presents like a weekly, whatever it is, YouTube video, and it's in different platforms. You can read it and you can see the YouTube video. I always watch the YouTube video every Friday. I look forward to it. I don't think that would be a terrible idea for every Friday or every Monday or However, whatever the time frame would be, just to make a 60-second video that could be put up on the Facebook page or put up on the website, and say, this is what we've done this week. Have a great week, or this is what we've done. This is what has been discussed. Our meeting is the fourth Tuesday of every month. Come on out. I think that would be a decent idea. Or, just to kind of mimic what the school system does, where they text you as something's happening or as something's going on. That would be something I would have to learn about, but I don't think that that's a terrible idea, where the park district could send out a text message and update people. That was actually something I was going to present to George too. I haven't talked to him about it, but I don't think that's a terrible idea for whoever becomes the mayor to throw out the same thing that Dr. Rolanitis does, where a 2 or 3 minute video just updating the public.
What do you think about, what are your thoughts on the idea of having those meetings recorded?
The
Park District Board meetings.
I personally don't have any problem with it being recorded.
Do you think it provides a benefit to the community, or something they should do, or do you think it causes a hindrance? I mean, I've heard both. Yeah. I've heard both ways. Even, school board says sometimes you put people in front of a camera and they're not going to speak as freely, or they might, maybe you get somebody that wants to be more political than another. But, it seems the way that a lot of the boards and things are moving nowadays. And so maybe you don't think that way, though.
I personally don't. I think it would be perfectly fine to record. I know, like you're saying, the village does it, the school board does it. I think you should be able to speak freely, but also appropriately. And whether there's a camera there or not, I think you should behave the way you're going to behave. But no, personally, I think maybe the reason why, or one of the reasons why it might not be recorded, is we honestly don't get a lot of turnout to those meetings. But I hear what you're saying too, is like people would rather watch it rather than show up to a meeting at 6 o'clock at night. So I think it's definitely an idea worth exploring, and an idea worth presenting to the board and to Greg.
And it just seems kind of the way taxing bodies. I mean, you can go on Tinley Park's YouTube page and watch their zoning and planning meetings. I mean, it's
nice. Yeah.
It's just people want, in my opinion, people want more transparency, and across our village, I think it just gives people the ease of mind to, okay, well, it looks like they at least know what they're doing, or they can peek in when something's of interest.
Well, sorry. And to that point, like, I feel like everything explodes around election time, and then and then you're saying, "Oh, we've been doing this, we've been doing this, we've been doing this," and then sometimes people are like, "Well, why haven't you been telling us that, or why haven't we been made aware of this, prior?" And then it almost feels like all the information that's being given is for the election. It's not necessarily, an update. It's a political move.
Sure.
So I would agree with you. I agree that it's something we should look into.
Yeah, and maybe some of that comes from the lack of a consistent communication. If you're consistently hearing from, say, the school board, or getting an additional communication from the village, our mailer we get in our water bill, maybe that's enough, and along with the opportunity, for that exposure, but I think having those two might be ways to draw people in and get people more involved. A number of trustee candidates talked about the lack of people at their meetings, and maybe that's not necessary. Maybe you can get information other ways, but it's a good sign of, I think, local engagement and interest, and good ways to get people more interested and seeing different ideas. Like you said, a lot of it comes up during the election, and it's only presented or talked about at that time, but the idea to keep an ongoing conversation, I think, helps in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
How do you have you had talk about any experiences you've had at village board meetings, what you've thought, or just how do you come away after something like that?
So I personally I've not been to a village board meeting.
Okay.
I have gone in for meetings with Brent and Christoph when I had community dealings with them, and they were fantastic to work with. Great guys trying to help me with a business we were running, and built relationships with those two guys, and just found them to be incredibly knowledgeable and helpful. They wanted our business to grow and to flourish and to be part of the community, and it was a great time working with those two fine gentlemen.
Talk about your experience and what you believe that would add value to you and how you could be a better trustee.
Yeah, I believe I'm a people person, and I'm an honest person. I'm not going to lie and say that I've watched every village board meeting and just to cover myself and sound more than I am. I think I'm honest to a fault, and I think I enjoy listening to people, and I enjoy hearing ideas. I know that I don't necessarily have the right answer, but by talking to the people in the community and talking to fine people like yourself, you get these great ideas, and I continually end up in these roles where differences can be made or ideas can be brought up. I think I'm a person that isn't. It's not going to be my way or the highway, and it's not going to be something that I enjoy listening to people. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy hearing both sides of it. I love debating, and I honestly don't care if I win or not. It's just fun to have conversations that better both sides. And I think I'm very comfortable having conversations. I'm comfortable with uncomfortable conversations and hearing things from both sides and kind of taking a minute to mull it over and then come back together and present the best idea or go with the best idea, even if it's not my own.
So in this election, there's a chance that maybe you have a split, results. So say you're in a situation where Mayor Fleischer is reelected and you're elected as a trustee. Mm-hmm. How do you go about still being effective and getting things done with somebody that might not agree with you or be on the same page as you?
Yes. So part of the reason and I've had these conversations with my wonderful wife. I like to stay. I feel like I've learned my lesson with elections and saying things in an election time when it didn't necessarily need to be said, and then it kind of harms a relationship down the road. So if Frank were to win and I were to win, I, like Jim Schlegel was saying at our meet and greet, there are things that Frank has done. He did get hospitals built. He did get doctor's office built. He did bring things into this community. So I think, I'm not plugging for Frank, but friends of Mokena all the way. But I think there's recognition of both sides. There are things on both sides that have been done. I think there's from watching the videos that you've posted, there's all of the involved people want the same thing, is what it seems like. All of the people involved.
What is that? What do you think? What is that?
Growth. I think everybody seems to be talking about growth for our community, a viable downtown area, a walkable downtown area with, like I was saying about the Bozo's hot dogs or Steamboat hot dog. There we go. Something you can go up and enjoy and send the kids to, and have that community feel. I feel like both sides want that. I think the question of getting it done is what's in question. And I think if I'm elected trustee, I think I would continue to push for that, because it's been said in multiple interviews and multiple things. Yes, the downtown area has been what it is for multiple years. So getting it done is what needs to happen, and I think that I would be able to have those conversations. And like Melissa said, yes, whoever the mayor is the one that sets the agenda. So, but as a trustee, we can suggest and push what needs to be on the agenda based off of community request.
So if you had a magic wand that you could wave over Front Street, and Mokena's downtown in general, what does that look like to you?
Well, I never want to say that anything needs to go. There's things that I would definitely. I wish it was a little bit longer of a street, because I'm so excited that Doc's going in. My idea of what that building could have been, and I'm very happy that it's going to be a restaurant. Very happy and proud. I think a children's museum would be cool. I like what Frankfurt has in a children's museum, and I think that would definitely bring people down to our area, and it would be a destination. Just like, I remember taking my kids to the Frankfurt Children's Museum. It was like every Saturday before they're in sports, like you just, all right, let's go play at the museum. I think that would be something amazing to add. I think restaurants would be amazing to add. I think some green space. I like, somewhere where you can get some ice cream and go sit and enjoy your snack and just kind of take in the train. I know the summer is, I live on McGovney, and I get to sit out there and watch the train go by, but I also get to watch people bring their little kids down and stare and wave at the train. So if they could, stare and wave at the train and then go get some ice cream and just maybe hit the Children's Museum on the way out, I think that would be a way to make the downtown area a destination.
So a big part of downtown is the Yunker farm and the field there, and there's always been a lot of talk there. How do you think that plays into downtown, and what do you think? What would you like to see happen with that?
I like the idea of moving the train station, and then having the park district and the village work together to split it into thirds, where the what would that be? The north third, I think, if I'm getting my directions right. North third would be more for the village, and then the southern. Am I doing my directions?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Southern,
yep.
2/3 would be more of green spaces, and again keeping it with a destination where they come down and enjoy that park area, and then keep moving on to all the wonderful things that we could have in downtown. I think those conversations have been had enough times to where it sounds like things might hopefully be in motion for that. I know that would be a lengthy process, but I think starting the process is the only way we're going to get it done.
Yeah, and you've heard a number of people talk about the idea of connecting trails, and you've got a way to connect through, potentially down to the Hickory Creek Preserve with the park district's property. There's a lot of opportunity there, and connecting downtown. You think you can get on your bike, from the Forest Preserve and get into downtown Frankfurt, yes, or downtown New Lenox, or yes, their Village Hall. We should have a similar, a trail of bikes,
Yeah.
a bike trail. So I want to talk, you mentioned a little bit, but talk about your business, and you had, that experience and kind of what happened there.
Yes. So I was a teacher for 12 years. I had, 6 years of experience in third grade, and then just about 6 years of experience in fourth grade. And my wife and I were just kind of kicking around ideas of like businesses to start. And we came across an idea of watching dogs from our house, similar to Rover. Well, pretty much what Rover is, or Rover.com, but
What's
not.
that? Is that, I don't know of Rover, sorry.
Rover it's literally, there's two things. There's Rover and there's Wag,
Okay.
and it's literally what we did. You could sign up to be a Rover pet sitter, but there's incredible fees and taxes and just it's not so branching out and doing it yourself is the way that we thought was the best way to go. So we had built quite the client list. We had
And when did you start doing the business?
2022, January of 2022, and then we went to September of 24. So just about 3 years. We were watching people's dogs from our house. It was great. We had some days we'd have 4, some days we'd have significantly more than that. We had a client list of 360. I think it was 361 clients. Obviously not all at once, but like through the years we had, some dogs would come 3 days a week. Some dogs would stay with us for 4 a week, or more. And unknowingly, like I said, because of Rover and Wag and those websites that promoted this type of business, we were under the impression that it was, okay. We were paying our taxes. We were doing, everything that we assumed.
You were set up as a corporation and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
we have an LLC. We were playing with pups, LLC. We were registered with the state, and had no idea that this was a zoning issue. So part of the reason why I had a great conversation with Brent and Christoph was they let me know that was not a business that zoning wise or because of zoning codes was allowed in the village. But they helped me look for property. They helped me navigate codes. They helped me. They were incredibly helpful, and it wasn't like they didn't come and like shake their fist and say you have to be done, blah blah blah. They actually were they provided a lot of leniency in saying like you need to be done, but we understand like we can't just cut the cord right now today. They very much worked with me on options, and so far we have not found an option that is viable yet, but we're still working and trying to figure out what the next steps are.
So what was that? I mean, you get this news, and this is, how do you deal with that? What do you do? That's a big deal.
Yeah, I was actually coaching. I was at a baseball practice. I was coaching a baseball practice at Hecht Park, Hecht 4, and my wife came up with a letter, a certified letter saying like, "Hey, we got to stop the business." You just take it in. You take it in strides. At first, I was like, "Well, let's see what our options are," and the options were, it's time to be done. And as disappointing as it is, like I said, I very much enjoy the stoic reading. But I'm very much a person of what's going to happen, or what's supposed to happen is going to happen. We saw the brighter side of things. We essentially, and I don't mean to, you know, we loved our dog clients, but we did slightly create our own prison. I couldn't really go. I couldn't leave my house because we had, numerous dogs, and we cared about their safety, and we didn't want to. We can't leave. We can't tell people, hey, we're gonna watch your dog and go somewhere. So like even on holidays like that, there were many reasons why like I mentally accepted it. I mean, it was definitely a financial hit, but mentally I bounced back rather quickly. And it provided me with an opportunity to get in the community. I've been, like Josh was saying, I've been in the Mokena schools since October, getting to know the kids, getting to recruit kids to come out and be umpires for MBSA, and making relationships with more people that I never would have had the business continued.
Yeah. What do you think, that process taught you, and how do you think it would make you a better trustee? Do you think there's anything you look at and say this was unfair, or something should be different?
No, I think not no to the unfair. That was human error on my fault. I should have looked into the codes. I should have, done a little digging on my own, or made sure. I know we were registered with the state. I guess I just, in a silly lack of thought, didn't register with the village. So I think it's just one of those things that makes me. Now I know. Okay, we got to double check with everything. Sure. So as it ties to the village, I have that extra caution step. Like if we're going to do this, we got to what is the red tape behind it, or what is the process involved in doing whatever it is. And seeing the brighter side of things. Mm-hmm. Like not necessarily. I think that always having a positive outlook is going to be a great way to get things done.
How do you think Mokena can be more welcoming to businesses?
I think the process in starting needs to be streamlined. And to be completely honest, this is an area where I can develop a little bit of experience. I'm so glad to have Josh on our team, because I think he has great ideas on how to streamline the process. So my resource would be him. I would reach out and kind of talk to Josh and say, hey, what can we do to make businesses not only want to be here but stay here? I don't know if that involves like providing incentives for coming to the community, or providing tax breaks for coming and staying. But I think using our Friends of Mokena slate as a resource and kind of tapping into everyone's specialty, it would be a great start.
The village has purchased some of the vacant lots that come up, where like the Terrapin, kind of right near your house there, that mm-hmm. they're potentially, hopefully developing into a restaurant. And there's a couple more vacant properties sitting on Front Street. What are your thoughts about the village purchasing some of the vacant properties as they come up? Do you think that's something the village should be involved in or not?
I would want to know the reason behind it. And I think those conversations would come up in meetings. What is the plan? Is the plan to sit on it and resell it for a higher value, or is the plan to, like you said, begin to develop it? So I would want to know the plan before I, decided whether or not that's something the village should.
Well, like the Terrafin lot, the village bought with the hopes that they could control what was going on there. And so I think that would be the general idea. You have the lot right next to the old Ozinga building in between the Hustle and Heart, that whole thing. And then you have the old barbershop lot that's, a half acre sitting there that's been for sale. And I don't necessarily say encourage one or the other. The village has done it in the past. But I think the idea there is you control maybe who develops it, or you bring in and offer it. But
I would definitely want to learn more about that. But I think you're going to have success when there's a free market and there's competition. I think it's okay to have competition within. If another clothing store wanted to come right next door to Hustle and Heart, I think that would be okay. I think there's progress in competition. I don't know that a village should kind of handcuff property to pick and choose what goes in there. I think if a business wants to come in and be part of the community, and it's something that is in line with the values of the community, I think that would be beneficial.
any areas that you know of or could think of that you think the village could either cut costs or maybe generate new revenues?
I think bringing in businesses would take down or at least stop the rise of taxes. I think if businesses, like the tax revenue that we get from the Shell station and the BP and even Schilling, the tax revenue that we get from businesses like that keeps our taxes from growing. So bringing in businesses that can help with that, I think, is a positive. Obviously, I don't think any of those businesses would be good for Front Street. I think that would be a 191st Street conversation. But bringing in businesses would continue to bring down taxes for the people of Mokena.
One of the things that came up at the meet and greet the other night, somebody was very passionate, upset about marijuana in town and cannabis. But, the village, shortly after it was approved statewide, voted to not allow those businesses recreational in Mokena. We had a medical marijuana dispensary that then moved to New Lenox when they offered up. So now we have New Lenox, Joliet, Orland Hills, Matson, kind of all the surrounding areas embracing it. Do you think it's something that the village should reconsider or take another look at, or do you think it should be left alone?
Me personally, I would not be in favor of those in Mokena. Definitely not as part of the Front Street businesses. Sure. I think if that's a business that is being welcomed by other towns, I think all the power to those other towns. But for Mokena, I personally would not want those here.
What do you believe are the biggest challenges that the village faces over the next 5 to 10 years?
I think living up to what we're all saying. Front Street has been what it's been for many, many years. So there's obviously things that need to be done there. And I think it's getting fresh eyes, a fresh set of eyes in there to move things along. It's asking questions about, why has it taken so long to do, XYZ, why, and let's fix it. So it seems stagnant, and I think both George and Frank have said day one or day, within the first month or whatever it is. I think holding us all to it, holding all of the people running, holding us accountable for doing what we're say we're doing, or make sure that we're doing it. So developing Front Street is first and foremost the thing that we all want, but might come with some challenges.
The next thing after the police station was built is the villages started to talk about the idea of building a new village hall.
Yes.
So that's obviously a huge expense and not something we'll see probably next year, but down the road, and you start to see the planning progress starting with that. What would you like to see? Where would you like to see? And what do you think the village should plan for with the new village hall?
The discussions that I've had are just on the other side of the police station. I think the new police station, putting the village hall behind that, so that we kind of have it all right there. And then I don't necessarily, want to speak for my entire slate, but I think the idea of in the village hall possibly having a court system option like Frankfurt has, where they can handle their traffic citations right there in-house. And that would be something that I would present to George and our board and say, what do we think of the idea of including a court system, and kind of open that conversation.
Would that be a replacement to like going to Will County Court?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I have a couple kind of quick questions, a little lighter. We'll ease you out
Okay.
this a little bit. But if you were to talk to a new resident in Mokena, what advice would you give them to help get connected into the community?
Well, I would definitely, I would give them a Park District book and invite them to join MBSA and get their kids out there playing baseball and enjoying the many things that the Park District has to offer. Kind of point them in the direction of people that they could talk to about the different classes that they have at the Park District, and just welcome them with open arms.
What is your favorite breakfast restaurant?
Oh man, etc. all day. I like them both, but I prefer the one right here by the train tracks.
I agree. How about your favorite restaurant?
My favorite restaurant lately, the one we frequent the most, has been Legends, up there on 191st. But for a long time we were going to Mindy's. Mindy's was a good one, but I want a barbecue. I want like a barbecue restaurant, like what is it called? Hard Eight. There's one down in Texas. Or it might be everywhere, but I've only been to it in Texas. Hard Eight is a fantastic barbecue restaurant where I want to bring that to Mokena. That would be amazing.
How about your favorite? What's your go-to fast food restaurant?
Potbellies. I think we're constantly, constantly at Potbellies.
And what's your favorite Mokena community event?
The 4th of July. Being right there on McGovney and waking up early to watch the emergency services shut down the street and line the street with the fencing, and then the build that the parade has become, and then the fireworks at night. I mean, the 4th of July is just I'm sure you guys do too, have a 4th of July party, and it's just like the whole town is taken over by celebration, and that is,
there's so much energy, and then right after the parade, it's so wild, just to feel it dispersed throughout town, and our streets are lined with cars, and it's a lot of fun. Do you have a setup, like a place you set up to watch typically?
Typically, we are at the cemetery right there, across, right by the fire station, across from Aurelio's.
Good spot. Good spot. A number of people said with Aurelio's and the VFW on the other side, you have prime food and drink options during the parade going on too.
Absolutely.
But, no, that's a great event. What's your favorite thing about Mokena?
It feels like home. My favorite thing about Mokena is you can go anywhere, but this is home. This has a home feeling. I could never imagine living anywhere else. It just has a feel of home.
What local business do you support the most?
Well, probably etc. My kids have sleepovers, and then their friends are always they don't even call it etc. They call it the restaurant. Can we get breakfast from the restaurant? But yeah, I would say etc. is, if we could invest in etc., we would maybe get some of that money back.
Well, great. I appreciate you sitting down with me. If you want you can take a minute and share why people should vote for you, and if you want to promote your slate too as well. But
okay, I'll keep it short. I'm a people person. I like having conversations with anyone and everyone. I understand the value of people, and I understand that I don't necessarily have all of the answers, but I probably have a contact that does have an answer, or know someone that can help me find an answer. So, and I think our slate provides those answers. I think we have some very knowledgeable people on our slate. I think Friends of Mokena has great people that would be great for Mokena.
Okay. Dan, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking some time. Make sure to watch the rest of the candidate interviews and all the election updates on our website.